Define the cliché, threading the needle. A good example might be checking into your New York City hotel just as the storms arrive, then spending 2 perfect weather days in the city, and the day you check out it starts raining again. So today's episode begins just as Emily leaves her hotel room. This bridge isn't the same one Emily traveled on when she arrived in Staten Island. This one actually looks new. This is the Goethals Bridge, which opened in 2018. It cost over $1.5 billion to construct, and it replaced an older bridge that was built in 1928. Roughly halfway across this bridge is the state line, so Emily should now be back in the state of New Jersey, but she won't be in the Garden State for very long. After sitting in traffic for about an hour, Emily's at a rest area on the New Jersey Turnpike, and this stop is named for Vince Lombardi. He is the famed coach of the Green Bay Packers. The Super Bowl trophy is named for him. Let's see the inside of the rest area. The X's and O's, which it appears to be a drawing of a football play, is pretty awesome. There are numerous quotes attributed to Lombardi all over this rest area. Here's another quote from Lombardi. Individual commitment to a group effort, that is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, a civilization work. Lombardi was the coach and general manager of the Green Bay Packers from 1959 to 1967. He won 7 NFL championships. That includes the first 2 Super Bowls. He was a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. He began his coaching career near here in Englewood, New Jersey, at St. Cecilia High School in 1939. In 1943, his team won the national championship with a quarterback who also became a legendary coach. That QB's name? Joe Paterno, the famed Penn State Nittany Lions coach. Emily says the bathrooms are clean, but the food and drink prices are very high. Emily's stopping at a nearby cemetery in New Jersey where her great-great-aunt is laid to rest. About an hour later, after driving through New York again, Emily is welcomed to the state of Connecticut.
The sign said that Connecticut is the pizza capital of the United States. I thought it might have something to do with Mystic Pizza, the famous film that was Julia Roberts' breakout role. But actually, the city of New Haven is the pizza capital. New Haven pizza is a thin Neapolitan-style pizza which they call a Pete's. It's less cheesy than a New York-style thin crust pizza, and is cooked in a coal-fired oven. There are 1,375 pizzerias in the state of Connecticut. That's the most per capita of any U.S. state. And now I want some pizza, but Georgia pizza's not that good. New Haven is also where the first hamburger was served. Oh, and I forgot to welcome you. Hey guys, it's Emily. Welcome everyone! I'm spending the day in Connecticut and Rhode Island, 2 very tiny states. Let's go!
Emily's first stop in Connecticut is in the city of Danbury, the home of the Hatters. She's at the Danbury Railway Museum, which is only open on weekends. But Emily's here to see something very large that's overlooking this busy intersection. This is the world's tallest Uncle Sam. Including that extra tall hat, this statue is 38 feet tall. It was created in 1965 by International Fiberglass, who made the Muffler Man statues seen all over the U.S. This originally stood in one of the Uncle Sam's hamburger restaurants in Toledo, Ohio. In 1971, this statue was sold to the city of Danbury, and it was placed into the city fairgrounds. But in 1981, the fairgrounds closed, and this statue was moved to the parking lot of an amusement park in Lake George, New York. That amusement park was sold in 2018, but people who still lived in Danbury wanted to bring the Uncle Sam statue back to Danbury. They talked to the mayor of Danbury, Mark Boughton, who drove to the amusement park and purchased the Uncle Sam. Apparently, those Danbury residents still loved this statue even though it was gone for 37 years. This marker down here notes Uncle Sam is now at his permanent home. He's placed at this intersection to bring tourists such as Emily into the city of Danbury. Originally, Uncle Sam was going to be placed where it could be easily seen from I-84. But the mayor feared people who just take a quick pic from the thoroughfare and not visit the city, so here it is in downtown. The statue was rededicated at the Railway Museum on July 25, 2019, and is frequently used as part of directions to navigate through Danbury. Very similar to the Big Chicken in Marietta, Georgia. While in Danbury, Emily has another interesting roadside attraction, and Emily's just a couple of blocks away from Uncle Sam. Hey look, we used Uncle Sam as part of the directions. In front of the library is an interesting story about a 16-year-old girl named Sybil Luddington. Do you remember from your grammar school American history class about his midnight ride warning the Minutemen of approaching British Army troops? This is a similar situation that occurred after Paul Revere's ride. According to legend, on April 26, 1777, Luddington rode to neighboring towns in the middle of the night to warn the militiamen that the British had raided and burned down Danbury. Luddington was honored on a U.S. bicentennial postage stamp, which shows her just like this statue. There is some controversy over whether this ride actually took place. The only known documentation was from a nephew of Sybil Luddington, and it's also not sure if she rode the horse side saddle or bareback. It may also have been exaggerated by various tourism agencies. Was Sybil Luddington a Revolutionary War heroine? It's up to you to decide. The Luddington statue is near the historic Danbury Library, which is one of 34 places in a walking tour through Danbury. It's called the Museum in the Streets. There were many attempts to operate a library since 1793, but none were successful until 1869. Alright, let's move on. About 10 miles away is the community of Sandy Hook, and it's that Sandy Hook. Just outside of town is the Sandy Hook Permanent Memorial. This is near the rebuilt Sandy Hook Elementary School, and is to memorialize 20 small children and 6 educators who lost their lives in a shooting on December 14, 2012. Planning for this memorial started in 2013. This 5-acre plot was donated by the Boys Social and Athletic Club of Sandy Hook. This memorial opened on November 13, 2022. It is a place for quiet reflection and contemplation, and it's requested that people be respectful of others and the property. They also make a point to mention not to swim in the water feature. This memorial is surveilled by the local police department. This large stone contains items that were left in various spontaneous memorials throughout the community just after the tragedy. On top of the stone is a plaque. On the left side of the plaque is a message welcoming visitors to this memorial. On the right is a quote from President Barack Obama from his speech at a vigil at nearby Newtown High School 2 days after the tragedy. Here in Newtown, I come to offer the love and prayers of a nation. I am very mindful that mere words cannot match the depths of your sorrow, nor can they heal your wounded hearts. I can only hope it helps for you to know that you're not alone in your grief, that our world, too, has been torn apart, that all across this land of ours, we have wept with you. Now Emily's at Bridgeport, and this is the cloudy, foggy view of Long Island Sound. Not quite the Atlantic Ocean. You might be able to make out one of the barges that run between the various ports along this body of water and the Atlantic Ocean. Long Island, New York is directly south of here across the water. And overlooking Long Island Sound is this statue of Phineas Taylor Barnum, or P.T. Barnum. Barnum was a prominent resident of Bridgeport. He owned many houses here until he died in 1891. Barnum is most famous for partnering with James Anthony Bailey to create a traveling circus in 1871 that was known as the greatest show on earth. In 1919, Barnum and Bailey's circus was purchased by the Ringling family from Wisconsin. That circus then was called the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. P.T. Barnum was known for his brand of traveling entertainment, where he began a long friendship with Tom Thumb. He was also a politician, even though he said, quote, "Politics were always distasteful," unquote, to him. He founded the first hospital in Bridgeport, ran a steamboat company to cross the Long Island Sound, and was well regarded for his philanthropy. Another interesting fact, Barnum's obituary was printed just before he died, because Barnum wanted to read it. This statue was erected 2 years after Barnum's death. The statue is located in Seaside Park, which Barnum owned until he donated it to the city of Bridgeport in 1865. The park is quite large and borders Long Island Sound. It looks like Seaside Park is now 2 separate parks, one that is free where the statue is located and has playground equipment and a baseball diamond. The other park has a beach, and there's a trail that leads to a lighthouse. Still in the city of Bridgeport, not far away from the shore, is Mountain Grove Cemetery. This 125-acre cemetery was designed by P.T. Barnum, so it seems fitting that Barnum himself would have this impressive grave marker at his final resting place. P.T. Barnum died from a stroke at his home in 1891. As prominent as P.T. Barnum was in the city of Bridgeport, it may not be surprising that there were multiple attempts to steal his corpse. There was speculation that the potential thieves wanted to hold the body for ransom. Another story that was floated without proof was that Barnum himself orchestrated the stunt before he passed away. Barnum created this cemetery in 1849, purposefully away from the city center, so those who wanted to pay their respects would have more peace and quiet. P.T. Barnum is buried very close to his longtime friend and business partner, General Tom Thumb, whose real name was Charles Sherwood Stratton. He was born here in Bridgeport in 1838. Stratton had dwarfism and was only 3 feet 4 inches tall when he passed away at age 45. When Stratton was 5 years old, he started touring with P.T. Barnum. Stratton was a singer, dancer, and did impersonations and mime. This plaque at the bottom right notes Charles Stratton was most famous as Tom Thumb, and atop his grave marker is a life-sized statue of him. Vandals smashed the statue, but it was restored shortly after. It looks like Stratton's parents, Sherwood and Cynthia, are buried here as well. Stratton's wife Lavinia Warren, also a dwarf, is buried here. Up there is the statue of Stratton. The medical condition he had was pituitary dwarfism. That requires X-rays to diagnose, which weren't invented during Stratton's lifetime. The Hugh Jackman musical film, The Greatest Showman, likely brought new interest in P.T. Barnum when the film was released in 2017. Hugh Jackman played Barnum, and Sam Humphrey played Tom Thumb. Alright, let's move on. Emily's next stop is in the city of Orange, at the Pez Visitor Center. This is a big bucket list item for anyone interested in roadside attractions. And Emily knows this is a great place, because Danny Joyce from Philly says this place is awesome. In the lobby of the visitor center is the world's largest Pez dispenser. It measures an amazing 14 feet tall. Pressing this button will activate the Pez dispenser and offer you a gigantic piece of candy. Pez was created in Austria by Eduard Haas in 1927. It was originally a peppermint candy, and Pez is an abbreviation for Pfefferminz, the German word for peppermint. It was marketed as an alternative to smoking. It does look like a cigarette lighter. Pez has come a long way in the nearly 100 years of its existence. Today Pez dispensers look different, like these Star Wars characters, but they all have the same familiar design. Every Star Wars character you can think of is in the form of a Pez dispenser, like Darth Vader, Chewbacca, Yoda, a Stormtrooper, and Princess Leia. Great stocking stuffers these Grogu Christmas Pez dispensers probably made. Yes. Over here are numerous Super Mario and Pokemon characters. Pez really leaned into the collectibles market. Another example, the Pez dispensers are characters from the Minecraft game. We didn't know that they made plush dolls that look like a soft, cuddly Pez dispenser. But do they give out little pieces of candy? Not only do they have many types of dispensers, but they also have different candy flavors. They have 12 regular sugar flavors, 4 sugar-free, and some seasonal flavors. Over here are SpongeBob SquarePants, The Lion King, probably Strawberry Shortcake, but not sure. Then there are characters from the movies Frozen and Trolls. If you collect Pez dispensers, this place is for you. They even have Pez dispenser for the Monopoly game, and there are some cars on the bottom shelf. Here are Pez dispensers for your favorite Marvel and DC characters, and also some monster characters. Look at these full-body Santa Pez dispensers from the 1950s. These are probably worth some money. Do you want Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and other Disney character Pez dispensers? They have plenty of them here. They sold Popeye Pez dispensers, and now they're valuable collector items. These look like cigarette lighters, the original way to market these. Down here, other collector's items for sale. These Pez dispensers and candies are probably half a century old. More vintage dispensers such as Mickey Mouse here. There are all kinds of animal Pez dispensers, all shapes and colors, but all the same size dispenser that fits 12 candies. If Emily collected Pez, these Star Trek boxes would be in her shopping cart. Also Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and more Star Wars down there. With your admission to the visitor center, you get a $2 credit to buy anything in the store, including a bucket of assorted Pez candies. Filling a pail only costs $6.99, and they hold a lot of candy. You can get your Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and Valentine's Day Pez dispensers. Just about all the holidays. This is the former world's largest Pez dispenser. It stands at about 7 feet tall. Take a look at this. There are 9 boxes containing Pez dispensers for the US presidents, from George Washington to Barack Obama. They're not for sale here, but on Amazon, each box sells for about $50. Here are some Pez dispensers that are in the shape of guns, either a firearm or a space gun. Other favorite characters include Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam, Tom and Jerry, many of those old MGM cartoons from way back when. Here's a close-up of the Popeye characters and candy from the 50s and 60s. And characters from Stranger Things and The Office, for sale more recently. Here are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Crayola crayons, Shrek, Sesame Street, the Pink Panther, more Mario characters. There's also this largest Pez dispenser topped with a smiley face. They don't produce Pez candy here anymore, but they do occasionally package Pez items in this back room. This machine made and packaged those small Pez candies from the 1960s until the early 2000s. They compressed the sugar powder into the hard Pez candy in the familiar tablet shape. This created and packaged about 100,000 candies per hour. New modern machines make 500,000 Pez candies per hour. You too can walk on a bunch of old Pez dispensers. That's a little weird having them in the floor. There's a second floor where there are more Pez displays, so let's check them out. From up here you can get a bird's eye view of the entire visitor center, but there are other interesting displays such as this Pez bike next to a big SpongeBob that probably dispenses candy out of his head. This motorcycle was built in 2006 for the show American Chopper. That was one of the most popular shows on cable at that time. The motorcycle is 10 feet long, weighs 800 pounds, and has multiple Pez dispensers. The Tutul family, featured on the American Chopper show, is the first family to have Pez dispensers created from them. On this display are clips from the famous Seinfeld episode, The Pez Dispenser. This shows Jerry, Elaine, and George at an opera, and Jerry gives Elaine a Tweety Bird Pez dispenser, then she starts laughing uncontrollably and makes a scene. Here are some vintage Pez vending machines, where you can buy dispensers and packages of candy. How fun! Emily got herself a Tweety Bird Pez dispenser. Jerry Seinfeld would be so proud. Here's a wide view of the visitor center. It's not too busy today, but sometimes they do have school field trips here. Here's another large Pez dispenser of Jumpin' Jack the Grasshopper from their Bug series. Some classic advertising posters, when you can buy a dispenser and 2 candy packs for $0.25. For the $0.25, you can get a personalized Pez dispenser and 2 candy packs. Emily wants to bring a pail of Pez candies home and share with her friends, so she's gonna fill a pail as much as possible. How many candies will fit? Emily's about to find out. Hopefully, her friends will like them. That pail is almost full. Almost. They have boxes of 100 rolls of candies, and on the left are giant 11-ounce Pez candies to enjoy as you go into a diabetic coma. What a fun visit to the Pez Visitor Center. It's open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and costs just $5. It's a great deal for spending a couple of hours, and you get $2 in store credit. Alright, let's move on. After spending most of the day in Connecticut, Emily's going to travel about 75 minutes from this point. She'll travel through Massachusetts and then end the day just inside the state of Rhode Island at a stop of geographic significance. Emily's now in Foster, Rhode Island, at Jerimoth Hill. She's going to hike about 1/2 mile one way along that unpaved path. Thankfully, it's not raining. Double thankfully that this trail is marked. This trail is also fairly flat, with only a slight rise in elevation. So what's special about Jerimoth Hill? It is the highest point in Rhode Island, at 812 feet above sea level. The hill was made for an early settler of Rhode Island named Jerimoth Brown. The land at Jerimoth Hill itself was owned by Brown University, and this pathway was privately owned. But today, the high point and this pathway have been donated to the state of Rhode Island. However, Brown University still has the right to build an observatory here. There have been some hikers who have posted fun pics of themselves standing on the rock to prove that they climbed to the summit of Rhode Island. Emily posted her own fun pic on Insta. Jerimoth Hill's elevation is the 5th lowest high point in the United States. It's only higher in elevation than the high points of Florida, Delaware, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Emily's looking around for the official USGS pin that notes this is the precise high point of the state, but she can't seem to find it. We're not quite sure what the brown box is for, but it's locked and tied to this tree. Still looking around for that pin, so maybe this isn't the precise high point. She did notice some metal posts on a concrete slab nearby. Maybe the pin is over there. Here's the concrete slab, and we wonder if this used to be a covered area with a picnic table. It also looks like the start or end of another trail. But it doesn't look like the USGS pin is over here either. Emily knows for sure there is a pin because she's seen it online, but she can't find exactly where the pin is located. There's a tree wrapped with blue tape, but there's no pin over here either, and it looks like it's slightly lower in elevation than the big rock that Emily was just at earlier. Finally, Emily found something online that was a bit more descriptive, showing where the pin is relative to that path she took to get to this point, so she's walking back toward her car. About halfway back to the parking area is a small cleared area with a small post, and there's the USGS pin on top of a small piece of concrete. Thank goodness she found it, since it's getting late. On the small post is a small sign that says Coast and Geodetic Survey Station Mark. This is definitely easy to miss on that trail. Looking around for a couple of minutes, and Emily found another part of the sign that says Jerimoth Hill on it. The sign is made of cardboard. Since Emily could find it, beyond the trees is a white SUV. Zooming back out, it looks like maybe a quarter mile from that parking area, and to the right is the post with the USGS pin next to it. That's the rest of the trail leading to the rock. Emily has now been to high points in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, Delaware, Washington, D.C., and now Rhode Island. It's not well marked from the main road, so be careful. This is what we mean. This is Highway 101, and the road slopes downward in both directions. No good signs off this road either. This is where Google Maps with specific coordinates will help you find Jerimoth Hill, otherwise you'll drive right by it.
And that's it. Thankfully the rains let up during the afternoon. After I left Jerimoth Hill, I traveled up to New Hampshire where I spent the night. So for the first time on this channel, I'll show you places in New Hampshire. But you see that next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!